If you're a fan of Yes Minister, you're a far-right extremist. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee because, well, we're going to talk about this ludicrous article that's making reference to a report in the UK where, well, liking Yes Minister, it could be encouraging far-right sympathies. I mean, this is just ludicrous. It's a fantastic show. I love that show. It's quite hilarious and probably a little too accurate for our civil service. But what I think we're seeing here in many ways is a shift of the Overton window. Okay, nope, not office vacancies, up Overton window. And I'll get my pen here. Now, what we have here on the political spectrum, you've got either, the left or the right side. And it can go up and down. But for this argument, and from the Centre for New Zealand Progress, I think it's quite appropriate. You've got what's policy, and that's considered centrist. These things that are policy are considered in the middle of the Overton window. Now, that should be concerning if you look at some of the policies that our Parliament is putting forward and proposing, like shutting down all of our coal power generation. I mean, that's, according to the Overton window, that's centrist. Okay? Then you've got what's popular on either side. Oh, things that are not quite policy, but people call for. And then you've got things which are more sensible, a bit further out. They're not policy, they're not popular, but they may be sensible. Finally, it's acceptable. This is what you can still discuss in polite company and maybe reach a compromise on. You've got a collaboration or a consensus between different political groups where they can reach, maybe move to a sensible proposal. Then you've got what's radical and what's unthinkable. And these are the things that get you banned on YouTube and other platforms. But the problem is, this window shifts. Okay, it shifts as the media, as culture, it certainly shifts. Now, you could have someone who has an opinion who's considered, like right out here, they're radical. Some people would consider some of my opinions radical. But a few years ago, this Overton window was over here. And hang on, let me change that. It was over here, guys. So the problem is the Overton window is moving more and more towards the left side of politics. So now what you have is policy would have been considered probably radical or unthinkable just a decade or two ago. It's how you've got historic footage from politicians where they're saying horrific things. Look at Joe Biden's past. There you go. It's just showing you where the Overton window has shifted. And my concern here in Australia in particular, it's that it's shifting more towards a, left-leaning, more collectivist, less individual responsibility and freedom side of things, because there's sufficient historic precedent that leads to worse outcomes for most people. And if it goes too far, it can be very dangerous. That's my concern. You'd hope it would have everything in the center, but, hey, Yes Minister, guys. So let's have a look at this article. This is from the Daily Mail, and I stripped out all the advertising. Yes Minister and the thick of it were among the satire programs flagged by beleaguered counterterrorism prevention scheme for encouraging far-right sympathies. Now, years ago, there was a map you could get online which actually looked at terrorist acts around the world. And, it wasn't far-right supporting Yes Minister fans that were committing the majority of terrorist acts. Now, they've shut that down because, the organisation probably didn't like the flack they were getting from all the people on the left side of Overton window that thought they were being critical because they were targeting particular ideological movements and religious groups that have a propensity to use extreme violence to push their narrative. And all of them were on the left. A lot of communists, guys. Still today, 21st century, you still got communist bloody terrorists everywhere. So that was actually where Koshi and Pauline Hanson were arguing. And the evidence was right there, but it's gone now. You can still find the video on it. I'll have to check. Some of Britain's most popular sitcoms and greatest works of literature were flagged as potential signs of far-right extremism by counter-terror programs. Well, is it the meme that, you know, your child may be a far-right extremist because they like exercise and they like going outdoors? I thought that was a joke. The flagship Prevent scheme, recently the subject of a scathing audit, singled out comedies Yes Minister and The Thick of It, and the 1955 epic war film The Dam Busters, and even the complete works of William Shakespeare as possible red flags of extremism. I blame the education system for leading to this rubbish. It said the works of fiction were key texts for white nationalists and supremacists. Yes, Minister. This is just, I mean, this is just getting pathetic. It really is. It's probably just nationalists, British nationalists, like Sargon of Akkad, you know, perfectly reasonable to want to maintain Britain and or the United Kingdom for the ethnic people there. A report, but see, that's what I would consider appropriate and sensible and acceptable. Others would consider radical. That's where we get back to this Overton window, guys. This is the danger. It's shifted so much. So your opinions may not have changed. You may have been a centrist in the past, and you're quite reasonable, but the popular opinion may have shifted so much that you're considered a radical. Yes, Minister, guys, it's bloody hilarious. I'm quite the fan of it. Well, according to this, then, I'm a far-right radical. What bullshit that is. A report by Prevent's Research Information and Communications Unit described how far-right extremists promote reading lists on online bulletin boards. Oh no, reading lists! Oh no! People want to learn. And it reproduced an image being shared on far-right corners of the internet, listed important text under pictures of Nigel Farage, the former UK leader, and Oswald Mosley, who led the British Union of Fascists in the 1930s. The taxpayer-funded document included... how is this any different to far leftists? I mean, they read. But see, the problem is the Overton window has shifted. So now you've got idiots marching around with hammer and sickle. That is a disgusting symbol of death. Proudly. You've got them organising... you've got Antifa and Greens protesters... Antifa members here in Brisbane using the facilities of Greens members to organise events. It's disgusting. But I guess the Overton window's shifted now. The taxpayer-funded document included references to The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien, Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, Joseph Conrad's The Secret Agent, 1984 by George Orwell, and poems by J.K. Chesterton. It also references films including The Bridge on the River Kwai, The Great Escape, and Zulu. I mean, these are all good movies. I mean, Zulu wasn't... It's like, not the noble savage. The reason they threw themselves at the guns is if they turned, their families would be slaughtered or sold into slavery. It was horrific. The British were the good guys in Zulu, everyone, okay? Come on. But see, that's not politically correct, is it, either? Works by some of the world's greatest writers were included as examples of warning signs of potential extremism, including Shakespeare, Chaucer, Milton, Tennyson, Kipling, Edmund Burke. It almost seems like a joke, yeah. The report even highlights the BBC's 90s political thriller House of Cards, John le Carre's seminal spy trilogy, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, and Sharp, an ITV drama set in the Napoleonic Wars. Inexplicably, it said the BBC's Great Railway Journeys, presented by former Conservative Minister Michael Portillo, was of interest to the far right. Historian and broadcaster Andrew Roberts said, "This is truly extraordinary. This is the reading list of anyone who wants a civilized, liberal, cultured education." This is the problem. everyone. The Overton window has shifted so much. Our education system, even the UK, has shifted so far that if you just want a normal civilization, you don't want to have all the bloody knife crime like they have in London, you're considered a far-right extremist. I mean, look at Mark Latham, from Labour Party to One Nation. It doesn't seem his policies have changed that much. They're all quite sensible. Maybe you're just getting old, hey? Florian, that's it. I'm turning to boomer mode. It includes some of the greatest works in the Western canon, and in some areas, such as Joseph Conrad's The Secret Agent, powerful critiques of terrorism. Burke, Huxley, Orwell, and Tolkien were all anti-totalitarian writers. Yeah. This is the problem, though. You have conservative, sensible opinions that don't pander to all the woke popular opinions on the left. You're considered a far-right person. Just look at Twitter. It's ludicrous. Some of the utter garbage coming out of our elected politicians. You know, if another member on the opposite side makes a criticism of Labor's attempt to deal with climate change, they're labelled a denier, not someone critical of shit policy. So other books, shows, and films on the list: Beowulf, The Canterbury Tales, Shakespeare, Paradise Lost, Four Feathers, Lady Hamilton, The Dam Busters, Bridge on the River Kwai, The Great Escape, Zulu, Civilization, Tinker Tailor Spice Order, House of Cards, Sharp, Ray Myers, Bushcraft Survival, David Starkey's Monarchy. Well, you know, assuming these books will get a significant purchase, I'm waiting to see this article get featured on bloody Lotus Eaters. Author Douglas Murray obtained the full list and discovered that one of his books had been given a red flag by Prevent. Mr. Murray wrote, in the Spectator magazine, a number of books are singled out, the possession or reading of which could point to severe wrongthink and therefore potential radicalization. Probably more reason then to buy these books and keep them. This is disgusting, isn't it? It really is. And don't think this hasn't happened in Australia. In Victoria, I did videos where they were burning books, banning books from libraries, destroying them. It seems that the IRCU is so far off track that it believes that books identifying the problem that it was itself set up to tackle are in fact part of the problem. Yep. Yeah. He concluded that RICU's work was pathetic and called for accountability for its errors and sackings by the score. The list has emerged following a major review into the Prevent scheme by William Shawcross. This isn't the problem. Stuff like this coming out, it's going to harden people. It's going to draw them away. If you want to prevent radicalization, you need to shift the Overton window to a more centralist position and appreciate why people are reacting, why they're becoming disenfranchised with the state of the country that they're living in. I mean, I grew up in the 80s. I was taught that sexism was a bad thing. You shouldn't discriminate based on race or gender or sexual orientation. But it feels like that's the in thing these days. I mean, Google sent me an email. I could identify my business as LGBTQIT plus friendly or women owned. And well, my business is half women owned. Rachel owns half of it. I own half. And we've hired gay staff, which doesn't. We don't worry about those things. People don't give a shit. At least my generation, you didn't give a crap about that. It didn't matter. What mattered is if you were good at your job. And you might find out about that later when you got to know someone a bit better, if you worked a bit longer, but you don't care. But no, now it's a bloody badge they want you to put on your business. And I find that disgusting and offensive that it's gotten to that point. Is that just showing you how far the Overton window has shifted? So what I find disgusting, radical and unacceptable, okay, these things here, labeling your business as such, is now considered popular, I'd say. And in some cases policy too, because they're discriminating based on that. So that shows you how, for that topic, from my perspective, how far the Overton window has shifted, at least since my upbringing. Wow. We're screwed, guys. I wonder if people will grow out of all this rubbish. I'm hoping. I really am. His report, published early this month, exposed serious failings in Prevent, warning that it applies a double standard to Islamist and far-right threats. The £49 million a year scheme had prioritized countering far-right activity above tackling the prime Islamist threat, it added. I mean, that's a huge problem in the UK. You've got a lot of, you've got a lot of terrorists coming out of the UK, to be honest. The report said Prevent had scrutinized right-wing material, which falls well short of the extremism threshold altogether. Home Secretary, I mean, so this tells you that it's a political bias in the organization. They're extremely left-leaning. That's what it is. It must be all the soy people are eating. Home Secretary Sayula Braverman told MPs Prevent had defined the extreme right-wing too broadly, encompassing the respectable right and the centre-right. Yes. Yes, I mean, I would consider myself centre-right. But, you know, what I would consider radical and unthinkable is now policy, at least according to Google. So what does that say? House of Cards screenwriter Andrew Davis said, it almost seems like a joke. House of Cards was actually a satirical view of right-wing politics. The list includes more or less the entire classical canon of literature and some of the very best British television programs ever made. A Home Office spokesman said the Home Secretary made clear that Prevent will now ensure it focuses on the key threat of Islamist terrorism, as well as remaining vigilant on emerging threats. We've accepted all 34 recommendations and are committed to protecting our country from the threat posed by terrorism. Well, they need to. You got people dying in the UK. I think another soldier was killed. It's horrific over there. It really is. You know? Not like what's his name? Sadiq Khan says. It's not what you expect in a modern country. It's not just something you should put up with. So, well, let's have a talk about this guy. It's a joke. No, it's not a joke. It's something we should actually take very serious, because this is an organization funded with millions of pounds of taxpayers' millions of pounds of taxpayers' pounds, significant amounts of money that is generating utter rubbish, that is going to cause a misuse of resources, all because the Overton window has shifted so much. And if anything, they're going to harden people. They'll harden people who are right-wing to maybe even further, and disenfranchise them so they will not engage with the broader community. And the danger is then people get isolated in a silo, and then you've lost them. I consider that the greatest threat to radicalization. Because, well, you've got the internet now. You saw people were all self-radicalizing online with the material they could get. You had people here in Australia leaving to go for ISIS back in the day. Remember that? This is just nuts, guys. It really is. But we've got to be aware how far the Overton window is shifting. And we need to educate the young that these things are not appropriate. That discriminating based on your sexual orientation, your race, your gender, anything, religion. Even if you discriminate positively, that's still discrimination. We need to have a fair and equitable society. Maybe I'm just out of date, guys. The Overton window's shifted too far. Let's hope it doesn't shift any further. So what do you reckon? Have you now discovered that you're a right-wing fanatic because you're like, yes, minister? Well, there you go, guys. Anyway, let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one. I think it's disgusting, really. As always, check out my other channels, Heise Bim and Heise Does. And if you are a fan and want to support us, you can on YouTube or Patreon. Use our referral links, buy our pocket squares, or call us if you need an architect. Take care, everyone. Have a great day. And I might go and watch some episodes of Yes, Minister. It's been a while since I've seen it. Be good. Oh. It's a good reading list, though. We should go through some of them. Maybe watch Zulu again.